Will we finally see no win? Did Liv's tag title just cost her inside the chamber? And will the Viper strike back at KO? I've got all 4 winners for you next. Welcome to the still terribly named Okay Not Okay podcast. I am the SportsZu, and today we are betting the Elimination Chamber. But as always, we will start with our recap from the Royal Rumble. And of course, that is the toughest PLE to bet every single year, and so they proved it yet again as we went just 2-2 in the matches and 5-4-1 on props for an overall 7-6-1 record for the Rumble. That makes us 70-20 for picks to win, which is 77.78%, and 66-24 for picks to bet for 73.33%. Now, we did miss both Royal Rumble winners. I'm not sure how many of you saw Jay winning, as he was the number 7 favorite at plus 2,500, which is just a 3.85% implied probability. So congrats to all of you out there who just may have done it. On the women's side, Charlotte was the favorite, but I didn't think WWE was that basic to give her those vignettes and then have her win, when of course I went down with my Becky Lynch ship because she was the 4th favorite at plus 500. Certainly thought that was worth a shot and that they were saving her as the big reveal. Unfortunately for me, not the case, and so Becky's non-appearance also cost me for last woman to enter the Rumble, because that too ended up being Charlotte Flair at plus 500 of the 6 women who were listed. No one on the women's side was eliminated in under 10 seconds. There was one, however, which was Ludwig Kaiser for the men, but I guess you never know what you'll get there. But we had been on a streak of yeses since Triple H took over, but that finally stopped for the women's match. I was also wrong for most total eliminations on the women's side when I took under 7 eliminations. Unfortunately, Nia Jax got 9. I felt like I had the right logic there that they wouldn't have exactly 8 again, which was true because they already had a few people tied with that number. But it was really disappointing to see Nia eliminate half of the ring and several of the top stars all at once to get that over. Now, for the men's side, the only prop that I missed was the last to enter, because it was not Randy Orton, since he didn't enter at all. And of the 6 listed, it was actually CM Punk who had tied for the longest odds. Now, lastly, I do want to note that I was 1-0-1 in our crossover bets because Jacob Fatu beat AJ Brown with 4 eliminations versus 3 receptions in the Super Bowl. And then I pushed with the length of the Cody Rhodes Kevin Owens match at 25 minutes versus Patrick Mahomes also having 25 rushing yards. And we like to start with the history for each PLE, and for the Elimination Chamber, I actually went through most of that in last week's video when I was comparing championship chamber matches versus #1 contenders matches inside the chamber. So that video will be linked down below, so I'm not going to repeat all of that here. But I will again note that 11 out of the 34 Elimination Chamber matches have been #1 contenders matches, and we're going to have 2 of those this year. I will point out that since we emerged from the Thunderdome, 4 of the 6 chamber matches have been #1 contenders matches, and last year both Becky Lynch and Drew McIntyre were minus 2,000 favorites, which is a 95.24% implied probability. In 2023, we then had Asuka at minus 1250 for a 92.59% implied probability, and in 2022, Bianca Belair was at minus 200 for a 66.67% implied probability, and in that particular match, we had a couple other near favorites with Alexa Bliss just behind at plus 200 and Rhea Ripley at plus 300. But at the end of the day, in all 4 of those matches, the favorites won. And there is a good reason for that, because this creates your WrestleMania match. So this has to be the time to get that WrestleMania matchup in place. So of course, that makes it a great time to have the favorite win. So let's get started with our 4-match card yet again, because we just can't have big cards anymore. Anyways, inside the women's Elimination Chamber, we have Bianca Belair yet again as the favorite at minus 450, 81.82% implied probability, followed by Liv Morgan at plus 400 for 20%, Naomi plus 700 at 12.5%, Alexa Bliss plus 750 at 11.76%, Roxanne Perez at plus 1600 for 5.88%, and lastly, Bayley at plus 2500 for 3.85%. So let's briefly talk about everyone in this match. We'll go from bottom up. So starting with Bayley, she's been in NXT for quite a while now, so she has nothing going on the main roster and no reason to think that she's going to get it here in this match. So instead, I prefer a women's IC title match for her at WrestleMania. Next, Roxanne Perez. I actually think she should have the third shortest odds here, and I still think she's not winning it because now she's right back on NXT, where it looks like she'll be taking on Jordynne Grace at Battleground, and then I'll let her have a final stand and deliver match against either Bayley or against Cora Jade before she permanently moves to the main roster. Next, we have Alexa Bliss, and we're getting all of those Wyatt 6 glitches, and she's already talked to Nia Jax, so I definitely think one or both of those things are what she's going to be doing for WrestleMania. Next, we have Naomi, and I'm surprised that she has the third shortest odds because with her tag team title belts off of her, I think it's now time for her to shift on over to Jade Cargill because at this point, it pretty much has to be her, so that Jade will be her WrestleMania opponent. Number 2 is Liv Morgan, and we're pretty sure we were all done with Liv and Rhea, but yes, it does loom that a triple threat match could be a possibility with her doing something in the upcoming women's title match between Rhea Ripley and Io Sky to set that up. But it sure looks like they gave this away to me by giving her the tag team titles with Raquel instead as her route to WrestleMania instead of seemingly putting her in 2 different matches. So yes, that frees up Bianca Belair to do it once again, just as she did in 2022 with those minus 200 odds, which are longer odds than she is now. So last year was just about the worst kept secret of having Rhea and Becky avoid each other all year long. Well, I guess a good way to do that is to have them on different brands, which is exactly what we had for Rhea and Bianca this year. And those two are simply the best match that we have right now in the women's division. So we might as well just make it happen. And because of that tag team title match, essentially determining the winner in this match by having it be the loser of that match become the winner of this match, we're definitely going with Bianca winning that number 1 contender spot, and she is our pick to bet and to win. Sticking with the women, we have a tag match between the Time Twins of Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus at minus 2,500 for a 96.15% implied probability against Nia Jax and Candice LeRae at plus 800 for 11.11%. So Tiffy simply needs to look strong going into WrestleMania here, and Trish is back in her hometown, so I think that almost says enough right there. And on the other side, Nia and Candice have suffered enough losses, so why not just one more at this point? They'll probably get a tag team title shot anyways, regardless of what happens here. But it is possible that Charlotte Flair could finally just stop hovering over top of Tiffy and actually physically takes her out instead. But even if she does that, it's just as likely that this would create a DQ win for Tiffy and Trishy as it would cause them to lose. So I don't think that's really Charlotte's MO with this new character that she has going on here. She may watch, she may even distract, but I don't think there will be any contact, and that won't be enough for them to suffer a loss. So this is indeed an easy one. Tiffy and Trishy picked a bet and picked a win. Third, we have our unsanctioned match between Kevin Owens at minus 250 for a 71.43% implied probability against his former BFF, Sami Zayn, at plus 170 for a 37.04% implied probability. Now, Kevin Owens took 3 straight losses in championship matches to Cody Rhodes, so I think it's safe to say that he simply needs it more at this point. Whereas Sami Zayn at least has the built-in excuse of being something less than 100% after taking that pile driver. So Sami can simply put in a valiant effort and still come up short here. Now, I don't think Zayn can actually win this one cleanly here, and there's never really a true blow-off between these two because they can indeed fight forever. But can Randy Orton come back and interfere? Yeah, we have to think that he's going to be back for WrestleMania, so if the plan is for Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania, it would make sense for him to RKO KO out of nowhere and help Sami Zayn win. So we've got to think about those WrestleMania plans here. KO is either versus Orton or versus Zayn because nothing else makes sense. If it's Zayn, then it makes more sense for the good guy to lose first going into WrestleMania, so Zayn would have to lose there. And if it's Orton, we tend to think that he shouldn't actually get his payback during this match, and I think it would actually be better for him to wait until WrestleMania to get that payback. So this is in the biggest venue in Canada for these two Canadians, so this is basically a WrestleMania match for them, so there should be no interference in what should easily be the match of the night. So in the end, for now, we simply have to go with KO as the pick to bet and the pick to win. And in what I assume will be our main event, the men's Elimination Chamber match, we have John Cena at minus 1300 for a 92.86% implied probability. Then CM Punk plus 250 for 28.57%. Drew McIntyre plus 900 for 10%. Seth Rollins plus 2,000 for 4.76%. Damian Priest plus 4,000, 2.44%, and Logan Paul at plus 5,000 for 1.96%. So again, let's hit everyone going from the bottom to the top. So Logan Paul could be an important factor in this match, but no one is clamoring for another Rhodes-Paul match right now, so simply no chance right here. Damian Priest is at plus 4,000, and that sounds like a pretty good Backlash title match. And even though Triple H is deliriously high on Priest, even though he is pretty good, there's no reason for him to battle Rhodes at WrestleMania. For Seth Rollins, I'd actually have him third on this list instead of fourth. He did have a good interaction with Rhodes on Raw, and it is, however, most likely that he's going to be seeing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania instead. Drew McIntyre is shockingly ice cold right now, going 1-3 in one-on-one matches in 2025, losing to both Usos as well as Seth Rollins. And of course, we can't discount that he won last year, so I think that makes it a very remote shot that he could go back-to-back. And in an even more remote possibility, he could be The Rock's backup plan as his champion. But in the end, I don't think we would turn that around that quickly. So right now, he simply doesn't have the heat to be your Night 2 WrestleMania main event. And that leaves us with our only two real possibilities here. First, CM Punk. I keep picking this guy to win every single Royal Rumble, and he always loses. And here's another chance for him to main event WrestleMania. So, could he call in his favor here to win? Well, that is a little tougher inside the chamber itself, though of course we have seen other people get inside of that chamber before. Nonetheless, after the Royal Rumble, the stars seem very much aligned for a triple threat match with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. But admittedly, Rhodes versus Punk is definitely a WrestleMania main event worthy match, but this is not his last chance to main event WrestleMania. But it is the next guy's final chance, so it sure seems like it is written in the stars for John Cena to main event his final WrestleMania. And that has indeed been the leading rumor for a long time. And even though this isn't my first pick, but all of a sudden my first pick is back in play, because we need to find out what exactly The Rock is cooking. So I think Cody Rhodes says no to The Rock here. So we either get one, The Rock inserts himself into a triple threat match, and we have a true battle of 3 different eras in this WrestleMania main event, or number 2, The Rock simply interferes in the actual main event between just Rhodes and Cena to help Rhodes win, finding out that Rhodes either changed his mind or it was their plan all along to fool everyone, so then Rhodes would retain the title. But nonetheless, Cena would of course find his way back into that title shot later in the year so he could get number 17. Now I will point out we have had some John Cena versus Logan Paul rumors, and I think that could certainly be one way for these two to go, to have a match later in the year, but I think that actually runs the risk that their WrestleMania match could be pretty bad actually. So I don't think that's the right matchup that you want to have at WrestleMania with the most eyeballs on it. So in the end, Cena makes the biggest possible WrestleMania main event, whether it is with or without The Rock. So at the end of the day, John Cena is our pick to bet and pick to win. So let's do our recap. We are simply too close to WrestleMania for crazy things to happen here. So all of the favorites here get our wins. So we're going to get right back on track with all of those favorites, with Bianca at -450, Tiffy and Trishi at -2500, Owens at -250, and Cena at -1300. Unfortunately, no prop bets here because we would love to say that Cody Rhodes will say no to The Rock here today. But always remember never to bet more than you can afford to lose, but this one should be fun on our final stop on the road to WrestleMania. But if you missed the Doc's 6 paths for Cody's future for his fork in the roads decision, be sure to go right on over here and check that out. And so we can also see whether the Doc or I get the upper hand in our KO versus Zayn feud. I'm certainly looking forward to this one, and I am the SportsZu, as this has been the OK Not OK podcast.